What's up and welcome to Idle Insights, a show where each week I, Treavor Bettis, talk to interesting people about idle champions in Dungeons and Dragons. And joining me this week is Dr. B!
Oh, interesting. I gotta go.
What? What did I do?
You said you talked to interesting people. I
Oh
gotta
my
go.
god.
Bye, everybody.
Oh yeah, yes. We'll be talking to Dr. B when he appears like the groundhog out of his hidey hole.
How you doing?
This is my first episode back in like a month. So hi everybody out there in chat. I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I am excited. I am pumped to be here and talk about Psyche.
Yeah.
Not psychology, but Psyche.
I think a little bit of that's gonna be
okay.
Yeah, but if folks don't know who you are, if they don't watch the award-nominated show Champions of Psychology, did we win? Yeah, we won. That's right.
We won.
Award-winning show Champions of Psychology. Who are you for those fine folks who may not know?
Yeah, for those of you who don't watch Champions of Psychology, come over when we debut again. But I am Dr. Rafael Bocamazzo, Dr. B for long Italian name reasons. I'm a psychologist in Washington State. I am the clinic director at the oldest mental health nonprofit in games, Take This. I am the CEO of a geek and gamer centric, psychology practice in Seattle called the Save Point Behavioral Health. I am an expert on the applied use of TTRPGs in clinical and learning settings. I'm a consultant on the YouTube channel How to ADHD. I'm an occasional. I do stuff.
You do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I am lately. Yes, Obolor and I have been busy lately. Which is part of the reason we haven't come back to Champions of Psychology yet.
There has been a multitude of reasons.
Yeah,
but yes,
and PAX West, and oh my god.
Yeah. Fun times. Well, Dr. B, we talk a lot about like psychology and games and all that stuff on Champions of Psych, but one of the things that I've not gotten to ask you that I love asking people on the show, how'd you get into D&D?
Oh gosh. Okay, so a buddy of mine in my teen years was we used to have these sleepover parties at his house, and often it was like 16-person worm Armageddon tournaments that I would totally dominate because I played dirty. They were all like honorable. You have to in stuff, worms. And I'm like,
is there any way to play legit in that game?
I win. Dark side, but yeah, but one of them at one point, it wasn't D&D that I started with. It was actually the old West End games, Star Wars, which was cool because he was just like, you could be a Jedi. I was like, I could be a Jedi. And that was cool for a while. And, rolling huge bricks of D6s.
Yeah, that's the dice pool one, right?
Yeah. No, that's where you just bricks if you use your force points. But then he switched it over to D&D. And I was hooked. Like, it was so cool. Absolutely hooked at playing D&D. And I have now, been playing for decades. And and that, I also never realized I was going to be able to turn that into a career. I trained in a prison. I thought I was going to end up as a prison psychologist. And now I work in games.
Yeah, and you got practice. You're working with Take This and everything.
Yeah.
Like you're doing so much away from that.
I got to do the things. Got to help people.
Heck yeah. Oh, I see Star Chaser asked the chat. Yes, we are live right now because I'm terrible about mentioning that at the beginning of an episode. Maybe I should just work that into the intro.
It's May 5th, 2022, right?
Please don't let people think that we record.
No, I will hold up my watch and I will show you the actual time and date. I can prove we're live.
Just hold up a newspaper.
What's a newspaper?
Okay, you hold up today's I don't know article.
No, it says on my watch September 14th, 2023, 1:05 p.m. Pacific time.
My gosh, there we are.
Yeah, Star Chaser. I mean, I'm in my civvies today.
Yeah. You get the relaxed Dr. B.
Yeah, this is Dr. B relaxing.
Come on, it would have been ridiculous if he'd worn the bow tie on 2 shows. I mean,
I can put one on if it makes people feel better. I have one within reach because I always do.
Oh boy, fun times. Yeah, again, chat. If you haven't checked out Champions of Psych, we got episodes up on YouTube and everything like that. They're fun times. I'm not just saying that because I'm on it. So there it is. There's the tiara, and you'd get that joke if you watch Champions of Psych. So we're here today to talk about something specific, something that you helped out on for C&E. Tell me about Psyche.
So I cannot tell you how excited I was when I got the word, months and months ago that y'all wanted me to help design the new charity familiar, because I've been a fan of Idle Champions for a long time. It's just a fun game to me. It's relaxing. I can, pick it up and put it down because I'm busy, and other games are a bit verboten during times when I'm busy.
Good word.
Got to be careful about Baldur's Gate. I will ignore things. But I was excited. And so when when it was to benefit Take This, the, again, oldest mental health charity in the game community, I couldn't even be more, I was even more pumped. And so what do you want to hear? Like, what do you want to know about Psyche?
So, let's start at the beginning. So, like, C&E came to you and like, hey, we want to work with you on a familiar for Take This for charity. Where did you start? Like that, I mean, I know areas of creation and whatnot, but like when you're just kind of given this like free reign of like, it's a familiar, it can be whatever you want. Where do you start with that?
Well, I started by thinking about the familiars I use in games, and there's really only one that one of my characters uses, and it was so not appropriate. It was really not an appropriate choice.
Is it one we can say on the show?
No, listen, it's a fun story, but she's a keg mimic.
Oh,
and
okay,
I
okay.
Can't in good conscience have a substance related familiar to raise money for a mental health charity.
Yeah, that's
as
fair.
Funny as it was, how the V Muse allowed me to get that familiar because I kept rolling ridiculously and being kind about it. Like we were supposed to fight that keg mimic, but instead my character, who I deliberately created to have 0 trauma in the game, they like adventuring because it's really neat and the world's just fun. And they were an early developmental psychomancer, psychomancer that works at a boarding school, and they write their parents weekly, and Timothy. And so, believing that positive reinforcement's the way to go, he tried to just make friends with that keg mimic and ended up with a familiar. But it was having a keg was just not appropriate for this. So the next step was to think about something that's mental health related, something that's psychology related. And I talked to some of the other staff at Take This, some of our contractors as well, and it was such a vast scope of things, and we started looking at some potential ideas. One of the early ideas was actually an intellect devourer, but with with painted smile on the front of the brain, and a graduation mortarboard. But they're so small on the screen, it just really wouldn't have worked. And there's also an intellect devourer that's already there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I talked to V and your creative team, who were just amazing to work with, the idea of a psionic dragon came up, and I started flipping through, all of my library of D&D books, and I was like, oh yeah, no, but what if we went with like an amethyst dragon and like the wormlings pseudo dragon? Yes, there's no pseudo dragons yet, so we'll go with an amethyst. We'll go with an amethyst pseudo dragon. And what are we going to call it? We'll call her Psyche, because that makes total sense thematically. The goddess of the mind.
There we go.
So yeah, I mean, it's not exactly subtle, but it worked. And then we just started adding some bits of flair to Psyche. We needed at least 15 bits of flair because we wanted to show we're going above and beyond.
I hate you so much for just throwing it, just laissez-faire, throwing in an Office Space reference into this.
But what we wanted to just really indicate that Psyche was there to be kind and be accessible and be listening. So for those of you who haven't purchased her yet, please do so, because the proceeds for this first week help benefit Take This as Mental Health Mission. And she's writing a notepad.
Yeah.
Because she just wants to listen. And she does take notes on her one notepad, but because she collects notepads, she's got a whole lot of them for special occasions that she will never write in. That's my nod to you, Trevor.
I don't know what you're talking about there at all.
That is my absolute nod to you.
I appreciate that. The thing that I absolutely love that you told me about months and months ago that I just lost it about is the little bow tie.
The bow tie is so cute. And
it's so cute.
Again, for those of you who don't watch Champions of Psychology, on screen I'm typically wearing a bow tie. I'm not actually joking that in my office it's pretty much guaranteed I have one within arm's reach at any time, and that's not an exception today. Yes. I have a bow tie within reach. And
it's been a bit in the show since the first episode. I was like, whenever I start doing the outro, he's just undoing the tie. Yeah. And there's only been one episode that didn't happen. And the best thing is, no one drew attention to it. So there is just one episode out there where, like, you didn't do it. Nobody caught it.
Well, I guess people are just going to have to go watch the VODs to figure out which one that is.
I have to figure it out.
Because I don't know. But and the artists, your creative team over there was amazing in making the feedback process painless, because I am not an artist. I am not a graphic designer. There's a lot of wonderful things, creative things I do, but illustration and graphics, that ain't it.
I have to request graphics all the time. Mm-hmm. And most of the time, like, I'll put down, like, this is what I was thinking with this and this. And the last sentence is always, but you know way more about this than I do, and anything that you're going to do is probably going to be better. So just go with that.
Yeah, I feel such deference to the graphics people. And I felt like such a burden the entire time. You're dealing with my ignorance here. I know enough about graphic design not to say things like, I just want it to pop. Or can we zhuzh this up a little bit?
Can we zhuzh this? Can we get a little zhuzhing?
Yeah, well, at that point, the graphic design folks are just like getting out the whetstones and sharpening things. And I want to actually, Cassius 335 brings up a question. That was actually one of the considerations. Was there a Dr. B in, Dr. B close? But I wanted to, I feel a little weird making it too much about me, because this was about Take This, and I wanted to make sure the focus was there and not on whatever cult of personality I'm trying to build around myself.
But like I think that's why I think the bow tie was so brilliant for it, because like there is a good portion of this community that know who you are because of Champions of Psyche and everything. So seeing that, they're like, oh, Dr. B, but it's got the colors in there of Take This. It's got the Psyche Dragon, everything. It pulled everything together in such a neat package.
I know, it was like a really well designed rug. Just brought the whole thing together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if people noticed this, but the gemstone spines on Psyche, as well as her talons, her very cute painted talons, they're just wonderfully done and so tasteful, are all in our color branded colors for Take This.
I loved one of your notes because
Did
I
you
had to
read those?
I had to go into there to grab something when I was doing
Oh,
the blog for this, and
what did I write?
I just saw your note that said I never would have guessed painted nails on a pseudo dragon would have pulled everything together. And
Yeah,
I
you
couldn't
know what?
stop
I don't remember
laughing.
writing that, but I will totally lay claim to it. That sounds like something I would say.
So good.
It just did it. You
I
know,
did.
the talent. She again, she's just so cute,
So adorable.
and even the little eyelashes.
The eyelashes, yes. Yeah, that was definitely a good characteristic for her. I love it.
Yeah, to make her, we wanted to make her look, inviting and approachable.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, dragons are scary.
Yeah, they're scary. You might say they're a lot of our, ancestral fears put into one creature that we can just be scared of all the time. But who knows?
That.
Eh.
Yeah.
But yeah, so chat, Psyche is available right now in game. Let's see, all purchases between now and the 20th at noon. The proceeds of that are going to go to Take This. So please, if you can, if you have the ability to, pick up Psyche and help contribute some well-needed money to Take This. But I did want to transition from there to tell me about Take This. There might be some people in the chat who don't know what that is or how it came about.
Okay. Well, so yeah, I mean, like a lot of good origin stories in nonprofit spaces, it's not a happy one. We there was somebody who was a colleague of our founders who, and I'm sorry for bringing the mood down a little bit here. They were struggling with their mental health and nobody really knew about it. And one day they very calmly took their own life, and it caught everybody off guard. And so our founders wanted to create an organization that was dedicated to destigmatizing mental health, because the idea that there was a games journalist named Matt Hughes, and that if Matt didn't feel shame and stigma around some of his struggles, then maybe he would have reached out to get support, whether from his community or from mental health professionals or from wherever. But he largely struggled with it, as far as everybody knew, alone. And so the idea of fighting stigma through education and putting a focus on community has really been at the core of what Take This has been doing for nearly 11 years now. We actually started in 2012. Officially, we're incorporated as a nonprofit, a 501c3 nonprofit, in 2014. And since then, we started off as a blog, and we started off doing panels. And then in the beginning of 2014, we did the first of their kind mental health rooms at video game conventions. PAX East was the first time we debuted our AFK rooms, which are staffed by mental health professionals who will want to moderate the space and also give mental health education and resources. But we've just exploded since then. The AFK program is still probably what we're best known for. And since I started tracking data in 2016, when I came on board officially as a staff member, even with the interruption of the pandemic, basically like a 2-year interruption of not going to conventions, we've hosted over 12,000 people in those AFK rooms. And that's a huge thing I'm very proud of. But we've got a growing list of resources. We want to make those available for free to our game community on our website at takethis.org. Our resource page is wonderful. We've got a growing series of resources on burnout. Mental Lamia in the chat is an amazing mental health professional, and they have done some incredible work in the last year with Take This, making some identity panels available for free on our YouTube channel that are insightful and awe-inspiring. Gosh, and we're now doing original research funded by the Department of Homeland Security, looking at dark participation in game spaces. Dr. Rachel Coward, our research director, is leading that up, along with Dr. Elizabeth Kilmer, and looking at how people are radicalized through video game channels. We're not saying video games are bad because we'd be hypocrites because we are gamers, but
Yeah.
there is evidence that, and those of us who live on the internet are going to be shocked not one iota by this, but that extremists are on the internet too.
Yeah.
And they use certain internet methods to recruit and radicalize. And so Dr. Cohort and Kilmer are looking at that. But we also do behind the scene workshops, policy consultations, game consultations. I think we've worked with nearly 50 game studios in the last 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I was a technical consultant on Psychonauts 2.
That's right. Yeah.
I can say this now. I'm credited as one of the site consultants on the latest Dimension 20 show, Mentopolis.
What?
Yeah, that was fun. That was really
fun.
My
god! My wife and I watched like a couple, I think 2 or 3 episodes of that. It's so good. I had concerns. I was a little worried going in, and it was totally fine through those episodes. And this makes so much more sense now.
Well, and credit where it's due. So when Dr. Kelly Dunlap and I from Take This, it looks like our friend Dr. Megan Connell was also a consultant. But by the time Dr. Dunlap and I consulted with this with Brennan Lee Mulligan, he did so much work ahead of time. Like so often we go into these consultations with people who really, they're looking for basics.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do I be sensitive about mental health? What is a mental health diagnosis? How do I not portray things stereotypically? But Brandon Lee Mulligan just came in like, okay, here's the work I've already done to understand this. Can you check my understanding of this and help me further it? And we're like, okay.
That makes me so happy to hear. That makes me feel so good. I love it.
Hey, Brandon Lee Mulligan, if you ever want a more additional consultation, we liked working with you. Okay.
Just a casual, hey, if you want to work with Brandon Lee Mulligan,
hey,
you got my number.
Hey, buddy.
That's
We're
fantastic, though.
Real tight from that one time we consulted.
But that's really awesome.
So that's some of the stuff that Take This does. And of course, we do a lot of outreach as much as we can. Our Discord, we like to think of as the kindest place on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
We do get to do stuff like Champions of Psychology. So a lot of we do a lot at Take This.
Yeah.
And
all, I mean, every time I hear about something you all are doing, since the first time I heard about Take This, I'm always so amazed. Like it's one of those like, yeah, why didn't somebody do that for like the AFK rooms? The first time I heard about that was the same time I heard about Take This for the first time, which was actually through CNE. It was it must have been 2019 or 2020 or something when one of the charities happened, and I read about Take This and the AFK rooms and everything, and that is just such an incredible thing, and you all just keep doing so much good stuff every year.
And I actually want to talk about the AFK room specifically really quickly, because since we started doing those in 2014, other people have tried. Mm-hmm. Okay, and not necessarily knowing how much work we put into that. Mm-hmm. If you've ever been to an AFK room at a convention, okay, what I need you to know, it looks like nothing's going on, and that's because we put 4 to 6 months of work into making it look like nothing is going on. And if everything goes right, it's going to continue to look like nothing is going on.
Yeah.
Each one of those things is between $10,000 and $15,000 to do.
I believe that,
and to do well, because we've heard some horror stories from other conventions where we weren't necessarily involved, and people didn't approach things with the same kind of care that we did and the same considerations that we did. And they had like these unstaffed quiet rooms, or maybe one person was staffing it and they didn't have any training. And in some of these unstaffed quiet rooms, somebody gets the idea of, I'm going to help people with their mental health. Let's have a trauma circle. And then it just, exactly. And so there's so much work that goes into moderating those rooms and figuring out how to have a container around things, because that's actually something people don't necessarily understand about therapy. Asking questions, being nosy, that's the easy part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody can be nosy. I'm just professionally nosy. Okay.
Please get a shirt that says that. Professionally nosy. That's all I want.
But the tricky part about doing therapy is, and I'll get back to the AFK room because the AFK room is not therapy. But the tricky part about doing therapy is you have to ask those questions in such a manner that you can create a safe framework and a container around things, build trust, go at a pace that's sustainable, have a sense of, when that hour is up, help the person, all of the bits of baggage that we helped unpack. Well, we got to pack it back up, hopefully in a little bit more orderly fashion. And that's the tricky part about therapy. Now, while the AFK room is not therapy, we still take that approach of creating a safe framework and a container around things. And that's actually part of the reason we use licensed mental health professionals in the AFK room, because they know how to do that in a way that doesn't risk going into that level of therapy and being really ethically and legally inappropriate. So yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into those things and months of planning. It's like a movie set. It should look boring and natural, but there's so much planning that goes into it. And that's why it takes like almost $15,000 at this point for each one.
I literally saw a Instagram video a couple weeks ago, or it was just after PAX, and it was just a video of two friends walking down a hall, and they stumbled on the AFK room. It was just a sign that said, AFK room and stuff like that, and just knowing that was there, what that meant to them. And I loved that because they were like, because they hadn't been to a con that had that.
Can you send that to me? I don't know.
I'll see if I can dig it up. But yeah, it would, like, one of them was literally just like, that is incredible. I cannot believe that this is a thing. This is gonna be so good for me. And so yeah, just like even seeing that level of it, like, that's huge. Like, I've got sensory problems all over the place. If I knew that I could go to a con and there's like one place I can go, that is not an issue. Oh my God.
And we try and keep it as sensory neutral as possible. And I'm reading that too.
Sorry for that. Lurking right in the chat. B-Dave, actively aggressive TM. Dr. B, professionally nosy TM.
Somebody actually suggested this recently, that B-Dave and I need to do a podcast together, and we can just call it Airbnb.
I'll produce.
Yeah, we won't run into IP issues at all.
Oh, so good. Sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, we try and keep the AFK room as neutral, sensory neutral as possible. And the fact that we've been running them for nearly a decade at this point, we've learned a lot of lessons. I remember the very first AFK room in Seattle in August 2000, Labor Day 2014 at what was at the time PAX Prime. And that was the first time I volunteered to take this. I was a volunteer for 2014, 2015. And gosh, we didn't have some of the rules in place that we do now. And in those days, the AFK room was located directly above a Subway sandwich shop at the Washington State Convention Center. Now, those of you who have been to a Subway establishment know that their wrappers are quite crinkly. And so
also every one of those has a certain odor for at least a mile radius,
especially when it's a tuna melt.
Oh no.
Somebody brought in a hot tuna melt into the AFK room, and they're just like crinkle, 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 wafting fish and cheese. And to add insult to injury, Trevor,
no,
they spilled their Monster Energy drink.
Oh my God.
And a little on the floor. And because of that, I happen to know that dried Monster Energy drink smells a lot like sweet tart vinegar. So we learned
I never thought I could hear anything worse than someone microwaving fish and broccoli in an office before, but dang, did that fly right past it. Whew. Okay, we're on that note, we're gonna take a quick little break here to say, hey, we got a giveaway starting up here in a little bit. Giveaway! Our awesome mod Gabe is gonna put a keyword into the chat. So if you are not watching this tab right now, switch over. Gabe will put that into the chat and just enter that word as is. You'll be entered for a chance to win 42 chests of your choice, excluding Bahamut chests.
What?
I know, right? We don't mess around. We give away a lot of chests. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. And oh, there it is. Let's see what.
Oh my goodness! I'm looking at this. Oh, 42 chests. That's amazing.
It's Bowtie Dragon. Bowtie Dragon.
Yes.
Gabe knocks out of the park again.
Yes.
So good. I'm not kidding. I do genuinely, when I do these like announcements, like we're doing the giveaway, I am excited to know what the code is because I don't know. That's why I can't give you any hints, anybody. Like the mod does it on the fly. Gabe
Bowtie Dragon.
Bowtie Dragon. Well done. Okay, so one of the things that I did want to give some time here for, because we've gotten quite a few viewer questions.
Oh my goodness, yeah, we have.
So you're editing a book right now.
I am editing a book. Hold on, put on my thinking hat for this.
Yeah, put on your thinking hat. There you go. Beautiful, fantastic. Tell me about this book you're editing.
This is appropriate actually for the.
Oh my gosh, it really is.
It totally is. I am the editor on an upcoming book next year that is talking about the psychology of Discworld. And I am a big Terry Pratchett fan. And I know some people who are big Terry Pratchett fans. And a couple of those folks sent me not auditions, but abstracts to be writers in the book, and it's going to be amazing. So we've got this entire book that I'm currently in the process of working with the authors on editing that is about just the psychology portrayed in the Discworld franchise. I just had to send out an email to all of my authors after I went through the first round, through about half of the first round of edits, and just said, hey, you know what? Vimes is great. We all agree on that. We need some more characters. There's so many other amazing characters because everybody was writing about Sam Vimes and Granny Weatherwax as a close second.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've oh wait, who wins? Oh, we've got a drum roll going.
Giveaway's now closed.
I'm riveted by this. I want to know who's winning this.
Paraloo. There we go.
So
congratulations.
Yeah. So, but this is part of a franchise or part of a series of psychology books with pop culture that ETC Press is doing. My friend, my colleague, Dr. Rachel Cohort is the series editor. And there's so many, of course, the first book in the series, if any of you know Dr. Cohort, is The Witcher. This surprised none of us. But you know, there's some of the other stuff in the series. I'm not sure what's been announced yet and what hasn't. So if I'm giving previews to things ahead of time, then I'm sorry, Rachel. But
gotta walk those NDA lines.
Witcher, Black Mirror, Discworld. Some calls just went out for Elder Scrolls. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love me some Elder Scrolls.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a psychology of destiny, or the zeitgeist of destiny in there, but looking at you now, Trevor, I realize there probably should be.
I gotta tell you this real quick because I related to it so hard. So I have a friend who plays Path of Exile like the way that I play Destiny, right? And he was talking with his girlfriend the other day, and she was like, there was something that came up and was like, oh, what's your favorite game? And he's like, oh man, what is my favorite game? And his girlfriend goes, what are you talking about? You play Path of Exile literally every day. And he's like, no. I play Path of Exile because I have a problem, not because I love it. I was like, I feel that on an intrinsic level.
Oh my God. Yes. Oh God. I'm actually trying to I'm trying to see if they're
Lauren says Trevor should be there for Psychology of Dark Souls.
oh my
Chapter
God.
1, why do you hate yourself?
You know what? That may be in there. I don't remember. But The Mandalorian is one of them. I think Umbrella Academy is another one. Bluey. It's like, the
Oh my
Zeitgeist of
God.
Bluey.
Jeez. I know adults that have watched that show start to finish that don't have children.
I haven't watched it at all, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm really excited for some of these, and I've been really happily excited with some of the stuff that the authors for the Discworld book have come with, including our friend the Opera Geek, who is going to be one of our authors. And yeah, she's writing a great chapter on that. I'm excited to see it done.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm actually going to pull in a question that we got.
Yeah. No,
let's
get questions.
Well, this has to do with what we're talking about. Lurking Writers' question: how important is, I don't know, is it called the Tao of Pratchett? Oh,
the Tao of Pratchett.
Yeah. How important is the Tao of Pratchett to you, and how would you apply it to your work at and D&D and with Idle Champions?
Well, I mean, that assumes I've read the Tao of Pratchett, which I have not.
Well, okay, let's just take it as in, like, Pratchett in general. Like, how important is Pratchett to you?
It's monumentally, honestly. So there is a history behind this that I'm very public about being autistic and very public about being ADHD. And like a lot of folks who were diagnosed as autistic and ADHD, either or both in my case, later in life, we often felt like the odd person out. I often gravitated towards media that had a bit of an oddball perspective on things, like, the song Fool on the Hill. I always had kind of an oddball perspective on things, which was a blessing and a curse to my friends and to myself. But as much as my friends tried to make me feel included, I never really felt like I belonged. And I don't know what it is about Pratchett's characters, but there's something about the way he writes that I feel seen. I feel validated. Like I need to take off the silly hat as I talk about this, because
but I feel like Pratchett would appreciate that,
probably. Well, I mean, he wore big floppy hats. Actually,
he did. Hold on. Yeah, you got to have at least one of those around. There we go.
I've got a floppy hat that's more Pratchett-esque. Okay, there we go. All right. Although this is my Jimi Hendrix hat, but yeah, I don't know. I feel seen by a lot of his characters and sort of the oddball perspective that they have on humanity. That it's a cynical but hopeful perspective that I've always had about people, because I love persons. People really aggravate me. And I don't know. I mean, being a misanthropic psychologist, I love persons. I love individuals, but I think there's a line in the book Jingo that says the IQ of any given mob is the square root of its number of members. And he had such an ability to basically hide these gut-wrenching, hard-hitting truths within whimsy. And there's a power to that that I appreciate greatly. And there's a way of eschewing so much of what we take for granted in society that's really not healthy. We, on Champions of Psychology, you and I have talked about, along with Mitra Jordan, our hatred of like toxic positivity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so many of his characters are examples of being good without being nice.
Yeah.
And so many people are being nice, and it's toxic. And I don't want to say too much, because I know there's at least one person in the chat who has just now discovered Pratchett, and I don't want to give any spoilers beyond what I need to.
that segues nicely into another question that I had in here. Where would you recommend folks start if they haven't already with Discworld?
Oh, well, I mean, there's 41 books in the core Discworld
God, that's
series.
so cool.
I know it's so many,
That's so
but
cool.
it's a question of what's your vibe, because there are different characters who have different plot lines. Being autistic and being awkward, I'm always drawn to charismatic people. So if you want to talk, if you want uh some plot that has to do with fast talking, charismatic, but redeemable human beings, you and golems, um start with Going Postal.
Mm,
There's so much hope in that book, and I love a good hopeful story even amidst the darkness. If you like witches and magic, then start with either Equal Rights or Weird Sisters, because
I
the Lanker Coven are brilliant.
I
Granny
picked up
Weatherwax.
Equal Rights. Great
Equal Rights
book.
is good.
Yeah.
Granny doesn't really become Granny until I think Weird Sisters,
Mm.
and you can see like the power of stories. The stories and beliefs are all about witches abroad, and witches abroad. Maybe that was the first one. I can't remember. If you like Death, who I'm convinced was autistic, the anthropomorphic personification of Death. Start with Mort,
Yeah.
where he picks up an apprentice.
Yeah.
Soul Music was my entry because that has to do with rock and roll, or music with rocks in it, because trolls bang rocks together. Uh, I love the ones with Death's granddaughter Susan. She's Hogfather is amazing. There's actually a chart you can look at to see where you should start depending on
Oh,
what
yeah,
you.
that's right. You
I
sent me
sent you that
that.
chart. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's
Because that's the,
the
like I feel like we should probably explain really quickly that, because folks who may not have ever heard of Discworld or anything are like, what do you mean where to start? There there's like there's storylines in them, but you
yeah,
literally can just in
anywhere.
some cases pick up anywhere,
Yeah,
which is one
yeah,
of the
yeah.
things I think is so unique to that series.
Yeah, it's there because there are things that build on each other. Yes, Small Gods was amazing. Monstrous
Mm,
Regiment was amazing, and that's the other thing that I appreciated. Monstrous Regiment brings something up that's really important. Pratchett really, through a lot of his books, examined what it meant to be an authentic individual through both in opposition to and through the lens of society. And so there's a lot of unexpected, especially for the 90s, from as far as I know a straight white man who's cisgendered. There's a lot of exploration of themes of gender and authenticity throughout there. You've got characters who are coded as trans, and who
ooh.
are overtly trans.
Sorry, Dream Wisp just came in with I think the best description. It's essentially an anthology in a
Yes,
cohesive universe.
yes,
Love that
yeah,
description.
yeah, it is. And I tremendously appreciate the fact that a lot of the satire is poked at the dominant culture of the disc. It definitely has an anti-authoritarian streak.
What? No, I won't believe that. Oh, I think Lauren may have actually found. Uh, oh yeah. I don't. Yeah, this is the one you sent me. That she put it into the Zoom
Oh
chat.
yeah, that's exactly the right
Yeah,
one.
yeah. So I'm gonna drop this in the chat for everyone.
Oh God, yeah. Rand Randram. Oh my, that was one of my favorite. That was my first book of literal. My autistic brain just went ballistic at the literal joke there, where Death, for lack of a better concept, goes in search of the meaning of life, finds a wizened ascetic on the mountain with a begging bowl, and he's just like, "What are you doing?" Well, I'm looking into the infinite. Why? Because it's infinite. I've seen the infinite. It's nothing special. What? What? No, no, you haven't. What does it look like? What color is it? It's blue.
Oh boy.
Yeah. It's I lost it. It was my kind of humor. He'll bury a pun. He'll set you up for a pun for 2 pages. But there's a lot of exploration of what it means to be an authentic individual. And I think as somebody who didn't know he was autistic, that's tremendously meaningful to me.
Yeah.
Those of you who know this reference will, I think, appreciate it. Those of you who don't, those of you who do know it, don't spoil it for those who don't. But the guarding dark, that one meant a lot to me, because I was sobbing at that point, because it's there. It's there. I keep the darkness in. Yeah. It's
Well, how do you feel about fielding a few other questions before we got to head
Let's do
out of
questions.
Here? All right.
I raise my water like it's some sort of non-water substance.
I'll
like,
raise my ice. Yeah. Rough Rider 1995 says, question, when is the next new episode of Champions of Psychology?
Well, we are working on that.
Yeah.
We are working on figuring that out. I am the problem. It's me.
It's not you. It is. Don't you
problem.
do that.
More specifically, my schedule is the problem. I am going to be out of country the first weekend. October has a lot of mental health stuff, neurodiversity stuff, and I have a lot of gigs, some of which I'm going to be out of country for. And so, but I also have a lot of stuff going on. So we're mostly working around my schedule.
Yeah, and it's okay. Like I took last month off of streaming. Mitra had a lot of stuff going on as well.
And
like,
then PAX West.
Yeah. So like we're working on it. We it is our full intention for it to come back. But we don't currently have a return date because, things are a little hectic right now. So
they are.
Yeah,
but we're gonna come back to we are gonna come back to Champions of Psychology for season 9.
Yeah. All right. You answered Cassius's thing about Mr. B. Let's see. Lurking Rider says, question, Dr. B. Dr. B in a one shot here. Familiar Quest or Idle Champions presents Win, please. I mean, that'd be pretty cool. Get you in one of those. You could play Psyche if we did Familiar Quest. That'd be pretty cool.
I would have to think about how to do that sensitively, because Psyche and I do not share the same gender, and I would want to portray that. I would want to do that in a way that wasn't like kind of transphobic.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I straight up told Lauren that if Vin Ursa is ever in a show, I want her to play her. So.
Yeah, I would want to think about how to do that sensitively, in a way that isn't satire of, or cross-dressing gender satire, and that's not appropriate.
Yep. Lauren, all caps. I am ready whenever you want. Lurking Rider comes back and says, question, how else other than Psyche can we further help support Take This and the people who benefit from its work?
Like any nonprofit, give us money. That's a big one. That's a really big one. Well, because
is there a spot on the Take This site for that?
There might be, if you go to takethis.org/donate, I believe.
Yep, there's a big donate button up in the top right corner.
Yep. And merch too. One of the things people might not know is how small the team actually is at Take This. We do a lot with a little, as is custom in American nonprofits. And I think we have 5 employees.
Wow.
And a bunch of part-time contractors. So we do a lot with a little, and the more people donate, the more we can add to the infrastructure to get more free resources out there into the world. We're actually going to be, I think, announcing this soon, but we're going to be doing a fundraising TTRPG weekend next month for Take This. This is our third Wisdom Save weekend. We'll be doing that. That's
I love that. Yeah, that was the first time I ever streamed. Was part of one of those.
That's awesome. So that's another thing. But that you can also just make sure to follow us on all of the socials on the Sky app. That's our newest one.
I've been telling people to follow me on the dystopian social medias.
But there's other opportunities as well. Lauren just brought up Gardens of Fog on the DMs Guild, which is a charity module that I co-wrote with Bill Benham at Wizards of the Coast and Hannah. Oh my God, Hannah Rose. God, she's Hannah, please don't watch this. Hannah Rose, and the benefits of that, go towards Take This. Beetle and Grimm's has our Shield of Hope, or excuse me, Shield of Faith, that Matt Lillard was big on helping us design, or with getting his buds at Honcholo in LA to help design.
It's so cool.
It's so cool.
Also, I'm dropping links to both the DM's Guild product and the Shield.
We're probably going to have a new merch partner announced here in the nearish future that people could do that. But Psyche, right for right now, Psyche, get in on that.
Get in on that. All right, Cassius had a follow-up that was just mentioning who could be part of such a one-shot, but Lurking Writer says, last question, how did Champions of Psychology come about? Thank you to everyone involved with that show. It's so important.
So it's actually funny, and it's one of the things that made me a fan of the folks at I liked the game Idle Champions already, but it was the thing that made me a fan of a lot of the folks at Codename Entertainment, where there's the CEO, Eric, contacted me and he just said, well, my wife's a mental health professional and I wanted to introduce you to, and maybe we can do something that's a mental health focused show on Codename Entertainment's channel. And I was like, okay, cool. Highlighting your products. And he was like, nah. I'm like, okay. Talking about mental health and video games. And he was like, if you want. So just talking about mental health as we think it's appropriate. And he was like, yeah. And I was really perplexed. So it has nothing to do with your product necessarily. And he's like, no. And you're funding this. And he's like, yeah. Why? And he said, because it's good for the community. And I'm like, okay, that's the correct answer, but it's not the answer I get usually.
Yeah. I remember being approached about hosting the show, where they're like, Eric's wife Mitra is a mental health professional, and Dr. B is as well, and is very big in the community. We need somebody to host the show. And let me get this straight: you have 2 mental health professionals, and you want me to host it? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, do I need to know anything? Because I don't. And they're like, no, that's perfect, because I got a bunch of mental health problems, so this is going to work out fine.
Yeah, so that's really how it came about. That Eric approached me and said, hey, let me introduce you to my wife Mitra and see if you two hit it off. And we're just doing this because it's good for the community. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm intrigued. And that's
I do want to know, definitely shout out to Eric. Thank you to Eric. But I will say the inception of this show was Mitra. Mitra was the one that was like, I want to do a show about mental health.
Then credit where it's absolutely due.
I want to be sure to get Mitra out there as well, because she definitely was the one that was like, I want to do a show about mental health, and then Eric made it happen.
Yeah, then shout out where that then let me reframe. The story that I just related was my first introduction to it.
Yes.
And,
absolutely.
So apparently Mitra was behind the scenes going, this is important, and Eric agreed.
I still remember the chemistry test that we had, where the 3 of us got in a Zoom call with someone else, and I don't remember who that is, because they could not get us to shut up. We did not stop talking for an hour. And it has been a blast ever since.
It's me. I'm the problem.
Speaking of that, though, I just realized what time it is, and we do have to be getting out of here.
Sorry.
No, it's
serious
okay.
Again. Serious.
Yes.
Okay.
We got another show coming up after this, but Dr. B, thank you so much for taking time to talk with me and for helping with Psyche and doing everything that you do. I am constantly impressed by you.
Well, thank you. I have a lot of gratitude to you all, because one of the things I didn't mention that I really need to before we get out of here is that Codename Entertainment has for years been an active and strong supporter of what Take This does. Whether that's been in direct sponsorship of the AFK room in years past, whether that is doing stuff like this, like it last year, in years past, there's also been charity familiars for Take This. Boy, it looks like that hat was way too tight. I've got a line on my head now. Wow. Okay, let's cover that up, but definitely not a silly hat. Okay, so and just shout out to Codename for being such fantastic supporters of the wellness of the community as a whole, and their support year in and year out of Take This has just been evidence of that. I was thrilled and I was honored and I was touched to be asked to make a familiar for a game I like so much. And yeah, I've got a lot of gratitude. Yeah. And Treavor has frozen in a really awesome, thoughtful face. Yeah, he's pensive. I'm gonna continue talking to Treavor as if Treavor is just waiting to respond to me. And gosh, now I wish I had the outro copy. I could totally take it from here. So yeah, so
recording stopped.
Thank you everybody for being in the chat. Thank you for being here, and we're gonna Trevor's gone and I'm in split screen. But thanks for joining us, and have a good one all.